Well, I certainly woke up to a huge surprise this morning. I think that most of us woke up to a huge surprise this morning because it turns out that after a really long time, I can't believe I can say this, the OLED Switch is real. That's right, the OLED Switch, or the Nintendo Switch OLED model, which is maybe not the most eloquent name, is officially a new model. So, after years and years of talking about it and a lot of rumors and reports coming out earlier in this year, 2021, we finally have seen a new updated version of the Nintendo Switch. Is it the Switch Pro that we've been waiting for a long time? I don't know that many of us would say yes it is, but it is the OLED model, so yeah, that thing is real. This is releasing on October 8th of this year and will be selling for $349.99. So yes, it's releasing the same day as Metroid Dread, which is certainly neat, and I think a lot of people on Twitter are already thinking that that's going to be the reason I'm going to be jumping over the moon for this thing. And so it's cool that it's releasing alongside of Metroid Dread. I do think that's obviously very neat. And so, yeah, I don't really know. I don't know. I mean, this is it. The Switch OLED model is what it is. October 8th, it's $350, not $400, but $50 more than the standard price of a standard Switch. And this is a new device, a new product that's really just focused on the handheld gaming experience with the improved and bigger screen, which has been part of the reports that were going out earlier this year from Bloomberg and Eurogamer and stuff. And yeah, I guess I don't quite yet know how to feel about it. Of course, before I start to parse through my feelings on the Nintendo Switch OLED topic, I like to remind you guys that I am always trying to grow the channel here on Rule of Two Review. I am hoping to cross 17,000 subscribers before the end of the year, and I am pretty darned close. I upload several videos every single week. I cover all things Nintendo, I cover all things Metroid, and I discuss all things gaming. So as you watch this video, if you seem to like what I'm doing and what you hear, then I hope that you will consider subscribing to the channel. So here's the thing, guys. One, it's very early, okay? I woke up, I had a text from my brother. He said something about Nintendo, which is very rare. And I got online and I immediately saw people talking, and I scrolled through the tweet with the trailer playing of this thing, and I was like, holy crap, Switch Pro. I immediately was like, the Switch Pro, like a new model. I saw OLED. I was like, the screen is real. Holy crap, this is huge news. And it was exciting, you know. Even before I knew what it was, I was definitely excited. And so I'm also very tired, right? So I'm trying to, like, wake up properly. I'm sitting here with my coffee with these lights in my face and the camera on, talking to you guys about Nintendo Switch OLED model. And so, you know, one, is very early, like I was just saying. And two is, I think that I realized pretty quickly after watching that trailer that this product, while neat and will definitely have a market, it's just really not for me. Like, it's a pretty looking product. I think the dock is cool. The way the Switch logo seems to light up on the front of the dock, like, those things are neat, sure. And like, I guess the color scheme is cool because it's different than all the current models. But yeah, the Nintendo Switch OLED, it doesn't really have much for me personally as a gamer or as a Nintendo fan. Does that have to be a bad thing? No, it doesn't have to be a bad thing. Because I'm just somebody who doesn't really play my Switch portably anymore. I will admit that as the summer has started to come in, spring and summertime, I have been taking advantage of the evenings where it's staying lighter outside for longer and sitting out on my back patio and playing like Mario Golf the past couple of weeks later in the evening. I love sitting out there with a beer or a drink and just enjoying the weather, you know, and like the kind of dusk hours of the day with my Switch in my hand playing Mario Golf. I have been doing that. However, with that one exception scenario, and, you know, for the last several years before Mario Golf even came out, I really have not been playing my Switch portably. Now, my fiance does play her Switch portably almost all of the time, so that might be a reason that we would end up having one of these in our house, but she doesn't really care too much about this stuff. I don't think this screen is going to really convince her. She's so happy with her current Switch, her Animal Crossing Switch, so yeah, this is just a long way for me to say that this is a handheld-focused device, and it's not how I play my Switch. I think that one of the biggest things we have to address here is that, yes, while this thing is certainly very cool and I think will have a market, this is clearly not the Switch Pro. This is not the upgraded Switch with more power, better graphics, something that's going to allow different or new games to play that the other Switches can't do. That's not what this thing is, man. This is literally just a device with a bigger, better, nicer screen and an Ethernet port in the dock. That is all this thing is. If that's for you, that's awesome, because here's the device you wanted. For myself, like I've been saying here, it's not interesting to me. And for those people who were really, really waiting for the Switch Pro, and I know that there were a lot of them, some of them are good friends of mine, this is not the Switch Pro. This is nowhere even close to the Switch Pro, nor does this match a lot of what, like, Bloomberg was saying earlier in the year. And I admit I was buying into the Bloomberg stuff. I mean, I can only be honest with you guys. Like, after so long of hearing about this stuff, and then these 2 Bloomberg reports came out in the last 6 months, I was like, this just feels too real to not believe. And so, you know, I didn't know that it was real, but was I buying into some of those reports? Yes, I absolutely was. I admit it. And this thing does not have DLSS support. This thing does not have 4K support. This won't make games look or run better. I don't think there's anything anywhere on their websites that talk about, like, upgrading to 60 frames per second for any of these games. It's just the quality and the colors and the brightness of the screen on the dock, or screen on the Switch, I should say, is better. And the screen is slightly bigger. It's a 7-inch screen. So those parts were true. The OLED display and the 7-inch screen were all true. Pretty much everything else, not true. So the Switch Pro is either still very far off, or that thing is just dead in the water and it's not coming. And personally, I believe it's not coming. Let's quickly run through some of what they say on the website about this thing. You can see here, 7-inch OLED screen. Feast your eyes on vivid colors and crisp contrast when you play on the go. See the difference the vibrant screen makes, whether you're racing at top speed or squaring off against enemies. Oh, and of course the stand, I can't forget that. The wide adjustable stand, flip out the sturdy stand for easy viewing in tabletop mode. So sure, they improved the stand, which is cool, again, for handheld and portable players. You can do different angles, find your best angle, adjust the stand to find the optimal viewing angle. Perfect for a quick multiplayer game with a buddy. So they've got all that stuff going on. Built-in wired LAN support. So, you know, having an Ethernet dock, which is something that consoles have had for like a decade. Sure, it's cool that this exists on this Switch OLED. Like, if I had this thing, for example, I would use this. I would absolutely plug in an Ethernet cable to it based on where I would set it up. You know, 64 gig storage, so it's not 32 like the original, it's 64, that's nice. The enhanced audio, okay, so enjoy enhanced audio from the system's onboard speakers. Again, that's good, all for handheld play. We're all focused on handheld play with the exception of the Ethernet port. And so that's it. You know, that's really what this thing does. Like, at the end of the day, if you watch this trailer and you look through these features listed on this website, literally, it's just a Switch. Everything that they advertised is the same as the regular Switch, right? And not that far off from the Switch Lite if you think about it either. Literally the only thing that this can boast that the current models can't do is it just has a bigger screen that's also OLED. And while I'm not going to downplay it like that's nothing, it's just not what I think myself and a lot of people were looking for. This is another device like the Switch Lite that's geared towards portable players. And I think that, well, you know, it's not that I'm mad about this. I'm really not mad about this. I'm mostly just disappointed it's not something that makes me excited to want to buy it. But disappointment is not the same as anger. I'm not mad about this. But I will admit something that I think is also a little bit frustrating here, which is, of the 2 newer Switch devices that Nintendo has announced after the original 2017 model, both devices are all about enhancing the portable experience. They've had nothing to do with the docked or TV play experience. And as one of the people who happens to play primarily docked, that disappoints me. It doesn't appeal to me. And again, that doesn't have to make it bad, man. There's several different kinds of players out there. People who like to play portably are allowed to have a device that is maybe going to improve that experience. Just like people who play on the TV like me would be allowed to have a device that enhances that experience. They just have chosen twice in a row to ignore the TV players and focus solely on the portable players. My guess is that it might be a lot cheaper for them to do so, and let's be real, this thing is going to sell. They're going to make a ton of money off this, and I'm sure they spent way less money updating the screen and selling it for $350 than they would have upgrading all the other components for a 4K model that actually improved the graphics and power of the console, and trying to sell that for only $400. I'm sure there's way more profit in this than there would be in the other one, so that's probably why they've chosen to do this. And so I want to remind you guys near the end here that this is not about me being mad. I don't have the time in my life to worry about being mad about something like this. All I can do is analyze it for what it is and say I'm disappointed, and say I may be frustrated that twice in a row they've chosen handheld players over TV players. Yes, those things are true, but I'm not upset about this. It just kind of is what it is. Like, Nintendo, they didn't make this a main feature at their E3. They didn't even show it at E3. They've put out a 1.5-minute trailer, and they've charged $50 extra for the nicer quality screen. And that's all they've done here. They haven't yet tried to make this sound like the greatest thing since sliced bread. If the marketing continues to do that, then maybe we have a different situation on our hands. But if this becomes nothing than a couple of standard trailers and commercials, and it just kind of poops itself out onto store shelves in October, then it's not really that big of a deal. I think the thing that becomes a big deal is that maybe a lot of us see this as representing Nintendo not yet ready to move on to something bigger and better. And the bigger and better is the last thing that I want to leave you guys with here, because again, we come back to this thing not being a Switch Pro, not increasing the performance, the capabilities, the graphics, or even the games that are available to be played on this. So when will that happen? Well, I'm going to continue to double down on what I've been saying for well over a year. I said this on Twitter earlier this morning as well. I'm going to tell you guys, I still think next gen is the key. And remember, I know this, I am the first person on YouTube that you know and have been watching who's been talking about the concept of a next gen Switch or a next gen Nintendo console coming sooner than later. Now, we don't know that that's true, okay? I'm just going to continue to say this, and I think that we're going to see in the aftermath of this announcement, we're going to see a lot more people start to come to the side of what's going on with next gen now that the Switch Pro seems to not be real. And I want to start letting y'all know I've been talking about it for a long time. Tell me that that's not true. And so, you know, I think that sure, a Switch Pro could come out of nowhere next year and surprise us, yeah, but I just don't see that happening. I think Nintendo needs to start looking at the next-gen console sooner than later, like in the 2023 timeframe, which is about what I've been saying. I initially was predicting 2022 or 23. I feel pretty good saying 22 is no longer on the table, but 23, I still feel like 23 is a darn good chance of having a next-gen Nintendo console, and so I don't want to go too much deeper into that because honestly, that conversation from me specifically, after the last year and a half I've had talking about it, deserves its own video and its own topic. So later in this week, I might make a video about that idea. But for now, I'll just remind you guys, I think that more power is the secret to actually enhancing the Switch's life. It's not this small upgrade that focuses on portable play. I think that eventually Nintendo needs to make a significant jump in power, either with a Switch Pro concept that does a huge power leap, or something that is straight up and without question a next-gen device. So time will tell on that one, but for now, that's how I see this whole OLED Switch thing. So what do you guys think, man? Are you excited about this? Are you disappointed by this? Are you even angry about this? There are people who are actually angry out there. Yeah, again, that's not me, but there are mad folks out there. So however you feel about this, talk about it below. Whatever you think about my breakdown, again, I'm so sleepy. I feel like I've fumbled myself through this video. Obviously, talk about that part below as well. And let's just wait and see how this thing plays out, man. Hey, a new announcement like this, a new device, does have some excitement with it by default just because it exists. So that part is cool, even if the device doesn't really get very exciting for a lot of us. So that's what's going on. Talk about it below. With that, this video is a wrap. Thanks, of course, as always, for tuning in, guys. This is Rob of Overlook to Review, and I will catch you next time on another video.